Let's go live now to Ofer Shelah, who is a lawmaker in Parliament, joining us live now in Jerusalem. Sir, thank you for being with us. Ofer, what do you think needs to happen about the Iranian influence here? The IDF says many of these rockets and mortars were made in Iran, smuggled into Gaza. What needs to happen about that?
The connection between Iran and the Islamic Jihad is well known, and it's part of, Iran sending its claws all over the Middle East in aggression, not only against Israel, but against other countries in the region. And that needs to be addressed. I think it needs to be addressed on a much higher level. That also, of course, has to do with the Iranian involvement and deployment in Syria. And then it needs to be addressed both by Russia, who is, of course, present in Syria, and by the United States, because we are talking about something that is much larger than the Gaza Strip or any other region, specific region.
All right, Ofer, you are a member of Yesh Atid. You're also a member of the Knesset committee dealing with foreign affairs and security. Do you think there is a case to be made that now is the time for permanent action, a game-changing action to topple the government of Hamas?
Of course, the question is, Hamas is a terrorist organization, and as such, it is both, in my mind, the right thing to do and the right policy to look for its demise. The question is, of course, there are two questions. One, what would happen in the day after? And that is always the question. And in the Gaza region, Gaza Strip, one of the most condensed areas in the world, 2 million people living there. Chaos there means a humanitarian situation and a terrorist situation that I'm not sure will be much better off for. And the other thing is, should Israel do it by force? Because I would love to see the population of Gaza, which is the first, they suffer most from Hamas's aggression against Israel, and from the fact that Hamas does not, as de facto ruler of Gaza, does not turn its efforts towards bettering the life of the people who live there, but towards terrorist activities against Israel. I would love to see them rebel against Hamas. I don't think it would be the right thing at this time for Israel in a military action to topple Hamas for both those reasons. One, that if we do it, it's perceived in a different way. And two, we don't really know what's going to happen there in the day after.
Ofer, I appreciate that thoughtful response. I wanted to just press a little bit more and point out, you mentioned the chaos that is certain to happen in Gaza if the IDF topples Hamas. What about the chaos of Israeli mothers running in the middle of the night, multiple times in the night, to bomb shelters, mortars landing in their children's kindergarten playgrounds? Isn't that chaos? Isn't that life-threatening? Isn't that a reason to make it happen?
Of course, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable that Israeli civilians will be in such a situation and will be for such a very long time. But when I speak of chaos, I not only speak about the suffering of Gazans. First and foremost, I speak about the Israeli citizens who live across the border. I'm not sure they'll be better off, security-wise, if the IDF goes in. The other alternative, of course, is for Israel to reconquer and reoccupy Gaza, and we need to ask ourselves, do we really want to be responsible for the fate of 2 million Gazans? There was a reason we pulled out of there 15 years ago. So it's a very complex situation. We may end up doing this for the right cause of the safety of the Israelis who live across the border. Right now, looking at it from a completely Israeli perspective, from the perspective of what I, as a lawmaker and decision maker, need to do for the people of the kibbutzim who live right next to the Gazan border, I don't think it's the right thing to do at this time.
Ofer, can you tell me quickly about the threat of Hamas drones? We know that Iran has its hands all over the drone program of Hamas. The IDF, in its response yesterday, destroyed, they say, entire sheds, warehouses full of drones. How big of a threat is this?
Look, Israel is a very strong country with a very strong army. We are much, much stronger than Hamas, and we are dealing now with more immediate and dangerous threats, such as the tunnels dug from the Gaza Strip into Israel, and we are in the process of dealing with that both technologically and physically. I think the drones are a problem. The kites and helium, the fire sort of firebombs sent via kites are a problem, but it's not something that is beyond Israel's capability to deal with. We will deal with it. We have drones of our own. We have a very strong Air Force. I don't think Israel needs to be, we have to deal with it, but deal with it professionally and without getting into panic because the Hamas has acquired some drones.
All right. Ofer Shelah with the Yesh Atid party, also member of the Parliament, the Knesset's Foreign Affairs and Security